Hello and welcome back. This is Sherry with Heart and Soulful. I am back in the studio today working on my beginner series, I'm going to call it, of how to use old books for your journal making. I'm also this year trying to stay organized and actually use the things that I buy. Otherwise, they're just going to pile up everywhere. So I started this series kind of taking apart books, showing what how I take them apart, what I decide to take apart, or, what might be able to be used as an altered book if it's in better shape. A lot of the books that I find are really falling apart, really horrible spines. That way I won't feel guilty about taking them apart, like this one. And so I wanted to share then how I might go about making these covers work, because a lot of times I have no spine. And so I have to kind of create one. So I'm going to, try to come up with different ideas of how to do that. And so I have one that I wanted to share today. And then the other thing was in the last video where I showed how to take apart books, I ended up with a pile of papers. So I decided to share those when I have 12 to 20, something like that, different books, then you get a nice variety. So I hopefully will have this in my Etsy shop, but this is what the packs that I've done so far. I've got a dozen of them. If you want to order those, and then I put a little extra thing on the back here, so that if you don't want to collect all the books and find all that and take them apart, it does take quite a bit of time, then you can purchase them. And there's other people on Etsy that also share old book pages, so just kind of look for those. I've taken it apart in a way that you still have the two pieces together, so you have a folio. Some of them do need to be repaired, so I'm going to show you different ways that I've work around that when they aren't intact. But I end up with a bunch of these. I have piles enough of a lot of them to add to new kits. But sometimes I only have a few left, not enough to, do identical another dozen kits. So I'm keeping those. That's when I decide to go ahead and fold them in half and just keep them for my use. I'll always have that pile to grab from, and I'm going to hopefully find a better way to store them, because that's the other thing I've been doing this year is spring cleaning and trying to find the right ways to organize for myself. I've only been doing this paper craft and journal book arts and all of that for 2 years, and so I really only am just still collecting things. So I'm trying not to get too much at once, but I have this basket that I'm using to put folios in. So if I've described this in the last video when I went through how to take apart books and the whole copyright, all of that sort of thing. But a signature is multiple folios put together to create a signature. And so today what I wanted to show is kind of how I'm going about putting signatures together that are all random different book pages and maybe some digitals too. So that's kind of what I wanted to cover today. And so how I store them in this little basket, a shoebox could work, anything like that. But I found that if I kind of prepare some things ahead, then when I don't have a lot of time to work on anything, but I just want to do something creative, I can go through this basket and I can find ones that have nothing done to them, different ones, and start kind of putting them together. Or maybe I turn something into a pocket or reinforce something. So I'm going to kind of show you maybe a little bit of that today, what I do. So for example, this is really, really thin paper, dictionary paper. So it's probably, to put a pocket on it or do anything to it, it's too thin on its own to really hold up in a journal. So you want to reinforce this one. So what I might do, and I don't really want to do it on this one because this is a title page. So I'm going to kind of put that one to the back and see if I can find one that I have already done. Maybe in here. I'll put this aside because I haven't shown you what I've done with that yet. And I don't know if I'm going to get to that today. Because what I did really literally was I put different digitals in here. It's not just book page. I've got different book pages, but I also have some coffee or tea dyed lined paper, graph paper, maybe some digitals that I've printed, whether it was my own thing that will end up in a kit that you can purchase in my Etsy shop, or I'm just putting together some things. Some of them I've printed on both sides, some of them I don't know yet, so it's just on tea stain paper, but I may end up printing something different on this side. I don't know. This is from my vintage distressed wallpaper kit. Do the same thing, printed on tea-dyed paper. So I have a variety of things, different ledger paper that's been tea-dyed in this basket to pull from. So I might grab something, for example, this one that's not in a signature yet. And it was a dictionary page, so it's that really thin paper. And it's actually not the whole page. I had cut a piece off to use for a pocket or something else. And then this was from another book. So I just used, you know, this book page and just using a glue stick, added it to that dictionary page just to make this now thick enough to be able to handle a pocket or a side tuck or something like that. So when I don't have a lot of time to be creative, or I'm not feeling creative, but I want to feel like I've accomplished something, I'll just go through and start kind of reinforcing, backing up papers to make sure they're going to be thick enough. The other thing that I needed to do on some of them was maybe they had so many holes from the thread, the sewing, that when I pulled them out, they were a little damaged or maybe had torn here. I can take washi tape and glue that down. So this is just, you know, any kind of decorative washi tape that you might want to use just to reinforce that. Washi tape is not very tacky, so you do want to use glue stick or art glitter glue, any kind of PVA glue, any kind of glue that's going to kind of keep that held down better. And then just, you know, fold it in half and use your bone folder. And now I have this is ready to be included into a signature. And then, you know, it can have a pocket added to it. It can have, you know, different things. So I'm going to kind of just show you maybe some different ones that I've done. This is another very aged dictionary page. It's a little thicker paper than the real thin, almost tissue paper kind of dictionary page. So I like this one. It's a little thin, but it's probably okay. I'm going to show you kind of what I do. If I did reinforce it, and I'm going to show you how I made some of my aged tape. Doesn't show up so much on this one, but maybe I'll do that first, actually. So one of the things that I've been using to reinforce, other than washi tape, is my just regular Scotch tape that I've aged to look like old yellowed tape. So to do that, you just want to take any kind of sheet that you have. This is the back of one of my full sticker sheets from printing fabric. This is one of my shipping label backings. And then I have, this is a little thicker. I don't know what it was from, maybe some stamps or something else, some stickers. So I save these kind of sheets because then I know if I'm making stickers or something to stick on, I just recycle those over and over again. So just take Scotch tape. I like to use a tape that's going to really stick. This is gift wrap tape, and one that's maybe more satin than shiny. I like. And then I'm just going to go, most of these sheets, if you do it this direction, that's about the height of a, you know, of a book spine. So I just put tape across the whole sheet, and you can leave a little bit hanging off, makes it easier to grab it and peel it off. But just go across the whole sheet. And then I used my Distress Oxide and Vintage Photo. You can use any kind of tea stain color, or, you know, parchment or whatever color you like to give it that kind of yellowed look. And then I just have sheets of this ready to go when I want to reinforce one of my folio spines. So I started with these ledger sheets. I don't know if you saw my book haul video. I had this ledger book that wasn't necessarily old, and it had all these ledger pages, and they're glued together. They're not sewn, but when I took them apart, they all kind of, a lot of them kind of stayed together. So, but I want to reinforce that because I know it could come apart if I go to sew that in. So I took these, or even ones that were just two sheets, and put them together with some tape. And it's kind of like the same idea of this journal, The Elocutionist, if you've watched any of these videos, where each one of these signatures pages was done with a paper tape that I made. So you can put two pieces together, even if they're not, and then you'll have your folio. So just by hinging them with tape. So I started with taking all of these, and it was really nice because my tape fit perfectly to line up here. And just tape those together. You can do them, some of these I did just on the outside. You can do them on the inside and outside both if your paper's really damaged and you want that extra support. But I think one piece is probably going to be good. The other thing you can do for any page is I like it when my pages aren't all the same width. So you can actually just fold over a small part and then attach it, you know, as part of your signature. And now you can have created a pocket here if I glued that down, and also a little tuck here too. So you could fold this a little bit farther and have pockets on both sides. So putting two pieces, you know, this would actually be three, together creates a folio and two pockets. So you're just gonna, you know, I just go through this little thing from time to time whenever I feel like grabbing something. And I could grab, you know, this was a larger dictionary page, and you can just fold it in half this way and have that be the beginning of a folio. Again, just check the thickness of your page. This one I might want to reinforce with something else. But I just kind of put them in here so that I have lots of things to flip through. So I've got a variety of stuff already kind of put together into little signatures, but maybe they don't have any pockets on them, or maybe I have folded them. This is one of the music sheets that's in that pack that's going in my Etsy shop. And it was a very long piece. So in order to fit it in my basket even, I just kind of went to maybe even the tallest book I might be making and made this pocket. So I haven't even finished that as far as gluing it down, because maybe I want to fold it over like inside on itself, which will reinforce it and make it a corner pocket. Or maybe I glue a whole thing, or maybe I fold it down again and glue that, and now it's reinforced itself and it's not as tall a pocket. So I kind of just take things like this, fold them to a point that I can fit them in my basket, and now I have, you know, lots of pieces that are kind of folded but nothing's really done to them yet, that I can use for adding to my signatures. You can even go ahead and pull some out and add a pocket. This was from these little map books that I took apart, some little tiny pages. And I love tiny books. You know, some of them are little synonyms or spelling dictionaries, that kind of thing. So you can use these to double up. You know, I have just ugly book page on the back of this one that, you know, stuff that's reject. Maybe the paper's too brittle, and so you can't use it for a page on its own because it's just going to break. Or you want to use it for a pocket because it's going to break. But you can line it to something else that's sturdy, and now that made that little paper thicker, so that, you know, now I can stick a card or something in there and it's going to hold up like that. So you can start adding pockets. This one has had my tape added to it already just on the outside. I could add it on the inside if I want. But I've got this one started. I probably also want to reinforce these edges just because that paper's still kind of thin. So I've just kind of done a variety of those things. I think what I'll do is, instead of go through this whole basket, I will show you kind of what I've put together for my actual book. And then maybe if I need to demo anything, I will. So let's just grab the first signature. This one was, I'm working on a digital kit, and I'm new to making these digital kits, these collages, but I wanted to do some of my book pages. This is a title page that I had. This is an actual watch that I have in my watches kit. and then some other different graphic things. So I'm just playing around and starting to work on some kits. Eventually I'll have one with enough things in it that I'll be able to put it in my Etsy shop for you, and then you'll have use of my book pages that I turned into digitals. But I've printed out one of those and then lined it with that really thin dictionary page. That way it's a nice, this was already done on heavy enough paper, but if I hadn't, this dictionary page definitely needed to be stronger. So that's just one folio. I can add pockets or tucks or anything to that later, but that got me to this point. So that's page 1. And then on mine, I see people a lot of times. I'm on some Facebook groups, especially ones for beginners, because I'm a beginner. So I pay attention to the questions I see them asking, and hopefully can cover some of those in my videos. But one thing I see a lot is how many signatures do you need in a journal, or how many pages do you need in each signature? That's really depends on the book that you're making. So if you want a really thick one, you put more. If if you know you're going to add lots of stuff, you put less. So for this spine, which is a little over an inch, I think it's an inch, maybe an inch and a half-ish, inch and a quarter to an inch and a half, something like that. I decided, because I know I'm going to probably add a lot to this, is I ended up doing 5 signatures, and I did 5 pages in each one. And I haven't decided for sure, but I think that's what's going to fit nicely in here. So this is one folio, and then this one, this was another folio, and I grabbed one of the pieces that had a lot of blank spots, so that's nice for writing. I did reinforce it with my tape, just on one side. And then this side, I took a different sized book pages, and I folded one of them in half on itself and glued it down to itself to make this thicker, put a little notch in it, and then I just glued it to one side, and then it's not to the other. Now I can reinforce this with tape if I want, and I might want to, because this could end up being fragile. I'm not worried about this. This actually kind of reinforced this side even more, making it sturdy. What I might do is, because you see how flippy this is, because this is thicker now, is on this side of the page, I could put another pocket. And I think I've done that on one I can show you, so that it kind of overlaps this one a little bit, but on the other side. And that way it makes this whole page a little sturdier. So that would be one idea. This one I'm not as worried about, because I almost don't want to cover this at all, because this is good journal writing space. And then this is good journal writing space. So maybe what I'll do is just put something to reinforce right here. But I'll take one of these off. And if you need to add glue to it because it's lost its stickiness, but if you haven't handled it, you just stuck it on there once, it really wasn't bad. And then I'm going to cut it right there. And then I have this piece I can add for my little patches. So now that is a little sturdier there. So that one can be done for now. I have found, working in my elocutionist journal, that I really like to just go through and see where I need something and just add to it little by little over time. So I'm really tempted for this journal, once I'm finished with it, to just put it in my Etsy shop as it is, with just the pages I'll put together. And that way, if you would like, you can just decorate it to your heart's content and not have to construct the book. So my next one, I like to stagger my sizes again. This was a piece of tea stain paper that these were from a digital kit I bought from someone else, and just, put them on here. Those I might decorate those pages up more, just so I don't, because I need to, if I'm selling something that someone else's digital kit, I need to alter it. I'm not allowed to just print things out and sell them. Even though I know it's in a book, I will probably, just to feel like I'm following the rules, decorate this up a little bit to make it more my own. So that would go next. And then this is, again, some of that real thin paper, dictionary paper. But this is one, was kind of fun to do, and I probably have to find 2 pages to show you. Okay, I think those were from here. Okay, I'm going to take 2 off, not in its signature, just so you can see that these were not, those were not attached to start with. So I started out with 2 dictionary pages and I overlapped them. So I might want to trim this messy part off first. For these 2 flaps, I have lined them with plain paper just to make them thicker, but I wanted to get all my folds first. So I'm going to just guesstimate what I did here. So I think what I did was I want my, this is 1 page. This is my spine. So I'm going to go about a page width and then I'm going to fold it. And these don't have to be the same. This one is going to go further that way because this one made a pocket on the other side. But I want my spine in the same kind of spot. And these can line up together or not, doesn't matter. But if I want them to line up together, then I need them folded in the same spot. And that's 2. Okay, so I would line these 2 small edges to make my those reinforced. But then I'm going to fold it up the other way also before I do that and make pockets go in the other direction. So I kind of can just eyeball or decide how tall I want my page to be. And that's about the same. It doesn't really matter because I like them all staggered anyway. But if I want it the same, then that's 2. Okay, so they're folded the same. I might have to go back the other direction when I'm all said and done here, like this kind of thing. So this is going to be the pocket on this one. This will be a pocket on this one. This will be a pocket on this one, and this will be a pocket on this one. So I need to get rid of this little corner on both of those pages first. It'll be easier if I make a mark. Okay, now I have my things cut. So let's see. This way and this way. This way and this way. Okay, so I have those 2 pages overlapping that way, reinforces my spine side. And I have a pocket here, a pocket here, a pocket here, and a pocket here. And that is a folio. So I'm not going to take the time to glue this all together right now and distress it and line it. But what you want to do is, now that I have those flaps, I'm going to add a piece of ugly book page that I don't care about, old paper, plain paper, scrap paper, whatever. You're not going to see it on the inside of all these pockets. Now, if you want to do it a decorative paper, something that you like, and see it on the outside to give contrast, you can do that too. You just want it thicker than this for a pocket. So you get it to the thickness either inside or outside, and then you can glue down your edges. Okay, once you do that, if I wanted to stitch this now, I could take this to my sewing machine, you know, and go around all these to kind of get my just stitching around the edges to even reinforce it more. So that is a nice little folio that I'm going to add to my inside here. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, and my last one here was a page that was a little taller, and for that one I just folded over a little bit, and then I reinforced it with some book page. And then on here, when I cut this, let's see if I can find one. I'll show you how I did that. Maybe this one. Okay, if I'm going to fold this up and have this be a pocket, see, I've just created kind of a really short page with pocket. When I cut this, just so it gives me some room there, I'm going to take my fold, and where it folds again from that corner, I'm just going to make it a little sliver, kind of cutting it off at a little bit of an angle. And then that way, when I put it up here, I have a little gap in between for that to open and close really well without kind of bunching up in there. So I would need to go and reinforce this now. Even if I just reinforce the edge, you know, maybe I have a little scrap of something, I don't have to reinforce all the way down if I don't want. I just really want to get this edge. You could even, for that matter, just fold this over and glue stick that down, and then you'd have a little shallow pocket. So, you know, again, that's just kind of preparing a bunch of these ahead of time and sticking them in there. So that's what I did on this one. So I have 5 folios in this one signature. And let's see what else I have. And then I kind of liked, you know, for me, doing these digitals on the outside on thicker, it kind of breaks some, you know, it gives me variation in my texture. And also, you know, these are all kind of plain at this point still. It gives me sort of a jumping off point as far as some kind of design, having this here. So I kind of like these to look good next to each other. And then here again, I can either leave these and have 2 writing surfaces, or I can add pockets or whatever I want. But I kind of, you know, in my mind, I'm looking at where they might go later on. So this one was one of my, a folio that was one of my distressed wallpaper packs. And then I had already, let me pull these out. I had taken this one. This is one of Roxy Creations digitals. And it was kind of printed, you know, it was kind of a design that was in these thirds. So I just folded it that way. I either needed to do that or fold it in half to put it in my basket. And I decided to do it to keep this whole page kind of looking like together. So it's going to be kind of a flippy thing. I liked these colors together, you know, so I can add something that folds out to this and hinge it here. You know, I could make that be a pocket here if I want, but then that overlaps that way, and I kind of like seeing this on the outside. So I think I would be more likely to make this a pocket, you know, reinforce this, make this a pocket, and maybe I have, you know, something that's folded in here. I don't know. But see, that's the fun part. I'm just getting it to this point, and then later on, I'll decide what to add to it. I liked these 2 together, so that made sense there. Okay, but let's see what I had. I had these inside of this. So I had, because I had folded this in thirds, I needed something that would at least fit, you know, in this part. So I think it's going to probably go like this. So this will be here. I could have a flip out or a pocket. And then this was a smaller, just a book page folded in half the wrong direction. And it's thick enough, I can leave it, you know, I can reinforce it later if I need to. And then again, this one's kind of thin. I haven't reinforced it yet, but before it goes in, I might want to add tape to that, or maybe a decorative washi tape because it's kind of plain. So I'm just kind of, you know, get it to this next point. And then this one, again, this was one of my digitals, just 2 book pages, you know, from the books that I just bought. And then this one was one of the book pages. It's a little thin, so I actually put 2 of the same book together. And there's probably more in here so you can see how thick they were. It was just a little bit thin. I was going to have to add something to it, so I just glued 2 of these together. So you could do a bunch of those ahead of time, and then they'd be ready, you know, thick enough to hold pockets and that sort of thing. And then let's see what I have here. Oh, this one I already did a bit to. So this one was this dictionary page that's, you know, kind of a little bit flimsy. So I wanted to reinforce those edges, you know, so when you turn it, so it goes this way. This was my original dictionary. Had a little tear, so I put some tape on the little tears. And then I put tape on the outside of the spine. And then I decided those edges needed to be a little sturdier. So on the front one, I put a piece of washi tape along one edge. And then this was just a torn off piece of strip of paper that cut off. And then I just did it to kind of give it some reinforcement. And then I used one of those little ledger sheets, those small ones. And I folded it over and then folded it again. And just, this is reinforced with another little plain piece of something, just for a little tuck. And then I made it kind of a corner pocket, and it's reinforced with book page. And then just glued those two sides. And again, I could sew this on my sewing machine if I want, but that kind of gave me this a little more reinforced. And then for this side, I did another piece of lined paper for some writing and made it a pocket. This was thick enough, I didn't go ahead and line that again. I don't want to get too thick where I don't have to, because I'm going to be adding enough. So as long as I feel like each page is going to hold up itself, then I'm okay with that. And so this paper was a little thicker. So again, it will go in my spine like this. It'll get sewn in here. So I've added, you know, some things. So again, in my basket, some things may be not much done to, and some may have, you know, already pockets on them. This was another piece. This is kind of shinier paper. This came out of a Swedish book. And then this was just some scraps, actually. I had a corner pocket I had maybe started in another demo. And because I folded the corner over, I had that reinforcement. So I just used a glue stick to glue that down and then glued it here for a little pocket. So it's already reinforced. This is pretty thick already, so I didn't really need to do much there. And then added a pocket. This is just a book page folded in half for a pocket there. So that one has a couple things. And then again, my little tiny book, I just reinforced that and haven't done anything with it yet. But it could have a little corner pocket, you know, anything. So I'll decide that later. So that's my third signature. And then again, this was a piece of, this was from Roxy Creations, one of hers. This is French Chateau, if you haven't watched my previous videos, because I've only bought a few kits. I'm buying more and more just to support other artists. But I really love this one. She's got a French 1 and 2, and then an ephemera one. So I'll try to remember to put links down below for those two. So that's just one copied onto tea stain paper. And then this again was, I can't remember the name, but I'll try to find it. This is just a kit that has different letters and different ephemera. So again, I'll need to decorate these up more because they're someone else's digitals, and I need to alter them before I put them in something. So that is one. And then this again was a larger piece. I haven't glued it down yet, but this was from a magazine of some kind. Oh yeah, this was the large from the music magazine. So this was a large sheet. So I folded part of it over and then, you know, cut that little square off to make this little side thing. Folded the side over because it had these advertisements. Folded that over and reinforced with book page to make that a pocket. So I need to still make my little, maybe I won't make a slit on that side since it's going to be on the outside. So I have that. That'll have 2 pockets once I glue those down. And then this little side one. This one probably should be in reinforced, so I might just try to slip a little piece in there, or I'm going to have to be very careful with that. Or maybe I can put a piece of washi tape over that too, make it thicker. So that one, again, one of my wallpaper pack ones. And then just a dictionary folded in half. So this will need to be reinforced too. But again, I just put the papers together. Then this is one of the maps from Bohemian Crafting on tea stain paper, folded in half. some dictionary page. And then this one I didn't reinforce with tape. I reinforced it with another dictionary page. So this is actually, I think, 2 layers because it was, you know, pretty thin. So these pockets are 2 layers of this dictionary page. I think I just folded it over and glued it down and then made little notches. So it's glued here in the center too. You know, you can't go all the way in. So that kind of reinforces that dictionary page. So that one. And then again, from whatever that ephemera pack is, I printed this on thinner paper. Again, I like to have just different textures and colors of paper. So because this is maybe left for more writing, maybe I collage on this side a little bit. I could leave this blank because collaging on this will make this a little thicker. If that makes sense. I just want to be careful when I do whatever I do that it's not going to be lumpy to write on this side if I'm leaving it for writing. So that's just something to think about. And then, I don't know what order I just had these in. I think this way. Just to kind of mix it up. Again, I haven't done anything except for reinforce the spine of that one. And then this again was me playing around with some blank, almost blank, aged paper book pages that I scanned, just so there's a little bit of thing faded in the background, but it's still all writable. So it's just taking that book page and scanning it to copy, but changing the opacity of it so that you can either do it onto tea stain paper, or if it's already tea stained itself, your copier will copy that tea stain over it. And then this, I just put a really faded background and then a couple of digitals on that one too, just to kind of mix it up again. So that's my 5 signatures if they stay that way before they go in my book. So as you can see, this is about 1.5 inches, and I have lots of room in here, probably a good half of it. But that's good because I'm probably going to be filling it up with so much stuff, it's going to take up that other half, and then I have a better chance of still being able to close my book. If you look at the one, the elocutionist that I did, this was done in a completely different way, where each signature, each folio is stacked to the next one. They're kind of all hinged together, so it's not really like signatures. It's just one folio attached to the next page, attached to the next page. So this is really just a bunch of single pages. So what happens is your spine, all the pages are right next to each other, which is fine. It's a way to do it. Probably better for a journal that you're not going to put a lot of pockets and ephemera in. Maybe one that you're more using just to write in. That way it won't become a gator mouth, which is what they call that. And this is going to get a little bit worse because I'm going to add a little bit more to it. But then it's mostly for just, you know, lots of space for writing. So maybe that's a binding better to do if you're not going to add a lot of stuff. So this one, I want to make sure I leave lots of room because this one I do want to have room to add lots of things. So for this spine, I'll just kind of show you real quick what I've done so far. And my plan is, this was just 2 book covers, and I haven't done anything to them because I kind of like them grungy, but I may add and decorate them up again. One thing that I've really wanted to do is an idea that I see Rachel from Roxy Creations doing. This is inspired kind of by her thing and me doing the slow stitching, is to create a fabric spine of slow stitching or doilies or patchwork or something soft, and do it that way and just kind of have it cover everything up once I get the signature sewn in. So my idea for that then is, my inside of this one was really in bad shape. This was an old Webster's dictionary, and you can see the cover's in bad shape. I could paint it, I could, you know, do something to it, but I've been kind of in just this old vintage grungy mood lately. So I think I'm really thinking I'm going to just leave it. What I did so far, though, just to kind of make it like a finished book, is the inside papers were all ripped up and ripped off. And this one actually, you know, normally the fabric goes over the edge of the book like this. So you see it come down to here, and then the end paper is on there. Well, this one it was so tattered that this fabric was already torn up here and kind of coming off. So I ripped it all off, and when I did, I ripped off the end papers and everything. So all of my chipboard is actually showing on the edges all the way around both covers because it was so tattered. But it was a dictionary, you know, it got used a lot. So I ended up taking the dictionary page from a larger dictionary because I wanted it to go all the way to the edge, and I just glued that down with Mod Podge to my chipboard. And then I did a coat over the whole thing of Mod Podge again to seal it. So it feels really durable now. I don't feel like that dictionary page is going to get torn or anything. It's all kind of glued down really well. So I did that, and then I just took my vintage photo, you know, with my little dauber, and just kind of tried to give it just an aged, finished look to the edge. One thing that I want to say when I did this that I think is kind of a handy tip is because I was using a larger dictionary page than my book, I went ahead and kind of, you know, just eyeballed it straight, but I had edges hanging over everything. Rather than cutting it and then trying to get it on straight, I glued it down before I cut it. And then it was really easy because it's such thin paper, it was dictionary, that I could just take an emery board and go like this and just kind of sand the edge off without having to cut anything. And then that way I got a perfectly straight line all the way around. And again, because I'm doing something grungy, if it had kind of a frayed look, that was okay with me. But really, by the time I put that sealer coat on it and then used my distress, I really like how it came out. It came out looking nice and neat and tidy, but grungy. Okay. And then I had this idea like a few weeks ago when I was in Studio B and I was waiting to run out of paper towels. So I had made something somewhere else, and it has a really flat spine. You know, if you just cut a piece of cardboard, then the spine is really flat. But because I knew I was going to do this with fabric around here, I just wanted that soft rounded look. And you know, I thought, how am I going to make that? So I thought, well, if I just save some paper towel rolls from now on, it's going to already have that curve because, you know, it's cut on this bias and created that way. So it's going to hold this curve shape better. So I just took paper towel, cut it. You know, it's really hard to cut it straight when it's whole like this, but I just cut it with my scissors and then took it over to my guillotine cutter to get my lines straight. And so I just kind of tried to make it about 1.5 inches. You can make it any size you want, but I thought that was a nice size for a book. And then you can see it's still plain on this side because this is going to get covered. But this side, you're going to maybe see bits of it. So I took some of the scrim fabric that I had rusted out. It was really grungy, and just ripped a piece so that it would overlap. And then I just glued that to the inside of my paper towel holder and wrapped it around, because you'll see this top edge. Wrapped it around the top and the bottom, and then just glued it to my book. I did use, you know, to line everything up, I would suggest, you know, a ruler of some kind to get them lined up. I worked on a Tim Holtz grid glass mat that has the grid lines on it. So if you work on a craft mat that has grid lines, you can also do that just to make sure everything is flat and straight. So I've never done a book like this. Most of my projects, if you've been watching me, because I'm a beginner, a lot of the things I'm doing is for the first time. And when I first glued this, I was really worried about it. See how it's moving this way? I was really worried about it moving this way. But now that it's dried, it's not doing that at all. It's staying really nice and straight. So I was a little bit concerned. But now that, like I said, when you glue this fabric to this, it made this stiffer than it was when it was just this paper towel roll, you know, paper towel roll. So it stiffened it up a little bit, and then having this all come over as much as it did, which is probably a good 1/2 inch or more. Once that's all really glued, it really feels pretty stable. And then I think when I get my fabric, you know, I'm going to sew my signatures into here. And then once that's all finished, I can decorate this if I want to more. But I think I'm going to come up with something for here. And then I think once that's all glued, it's really going to even keep it all, you know, kind of together better. So that's how far I am. So I encourage you, if you're brand new and just don't know where to start, you know, you want to start with figuring out how big of a book cover you have. You know, maybe you already have one that still has the spine. And so you're kind of, that one's probably 2 inches. You know, kind of decide that, and that will help you decide how many signatures you want in there, depending on how much you're going to add to it. But, you know, give yourself room. I know that my first mini journals were all gator mouths because I was, you know, you think that you need, this doesn't seem like very much that's in here, but trust me, once you fill it up, it's going to be big. So you want to kind of decide the width of your spine, and then just, you know, grab a shoebox or something and just start, you know, start collecting your book pages folded in half. And like I said, none of these are decorated. Some of them have things started on them, but that way when I just feel like I need to do something or want to create something, but I don't have a goal in mind for any given day, I can just start grabbing, you know, some pages and just start looking at, you know, putting ones together. And now, you know, this one's kind of started. And then I end up, you know, before I know it, I have some signatures, you know, in little groups like this in my bin, you know. And then maybe the next time I reinforce a bunch of pages, or the next time maybe I glue some pockets down, that sort of thing. But I end up with, you know, like this is another one that's kind of an idea, had an idea and kind of started, you know, making some little... Oh, this one was good. I should show this. This one I had, see if I can kind of identify where my pages were. So this lined piece was an 8.5 by 11 sheet folded in half. And then this piece, but you see it has a little jog in it. This was one of Rachel's papers. And I liked the idea of, it had this where the flowers were, so I made that a fold to make a tuck on this side. And then I saw how it had this building was actually much longer. But I figured if I fold it like kind of accordion sort of, then I make this the same width as my other page. But I didn't want to cut something, you know, I had an opportunity to make a tuck here. So what I did is on this side, it's kind of a shallow tuck. I wouldn't be able to put anything very wide in there. You know, it might end up hanging out this way. And then when I do the inside, I had copied a different letter on the reverse of it. And I made a tuck on this side too. This one's a smaller one also, but I had more room here to be able to put the tag. Whereas on this side, because it's offset, my tag would end up hanging over. So what I did was I made a slit, if you can see that. So that way, this tag's maybe a little tall. Let's see if I have something. Ooh, there goes a pile. If I had something smaller, and I can make that slit bigger, but see, it goes further, and I can have maybe a tab on this because it comes out on this side, which is fine because that's kind of cute. It's coming out from there, and then that way I still have room here. I just thought that was kind of a clever thing, you know, where I made it work to be a tuck on both sides. So that was kind of fun. And then I just had a scrap of one of her other papers, and it was kind of thin, so I did reinforce it. I had just copied this on regular copy paper. Just depends, you know, if you copy your digitals ahead of time, you're not sure what you're going to use them for. So sometimes you might have copied on cheap copy paper, and sometimes you might have copied it on, you know, this is probably my Hammer Mill 32 pound, or maybe even cardstock you do it on. So this one was kind of a fun one. And then this part, let's see. Oh, actually, this is part of this one. So I think this might have just been folded over to reinforce the edge, and then folded over here. So then it's a flip over here, which makes this paper a little thicker, you know, to have this extra layer. And then this is just one of my ledger ones I thought looked cute in there because of the red. So, you know, when you just have time, you know, you play around with even just one little folio and then put it in your basket. And then, you know, one day I'm going to have a bunch of these things ready to go to become, you know, get ready to go into journals. Even stuff like this, these were that one little kit that I got that was just different letters. I didn't do anything to them yet. I just printed them out and cut them out. And they're in here too. So just, you know, old book pages, ephemera that you've copied, digitals, anything like that. And you're ready to go start making some journals. The next thing I'll probably cover is stitching those in maybe, and then starting on some pockets, because I want the same thing. I want to have a little container of, you know, envelopes and pockets that I've maybe started getting ready that can get added to journals. So that's it for my share today. Hope you have a great rest of your day. Now go make something. Bye.